Now, the subject of today's talk is God as friend and companion. God has been conceived in different ways by different persons and spiritual seekers, so it needs to be known what is meant exactly by God when he is related to a friend or a companion. So first let us start with the different concepts of God that we have, and people like it. It is not that it is what is called textbook type of thing, but definitely according to one's liking, that means one's own mental makeup, if you can say, or upbringing, or intellectual comprehensive power, one thinks of God. For example, Sri Ramakrishna started with the thought of God as Divine Mother. That means Mother represented his God. So that was common. He found it from the local or traditional system, and he liked that and he adhered to that, and in that way he reached God. But in case of Brahma Samaj, we encounter a group of devotees who used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, they are known as Brahma, but their concept of God was different. That means they did not think that God can have form. But God can have form, God can have qualities, that means as they are called attributes. God may be very good, compassionate, and very large-hearted, and all-pervading. All those attributes are given to God. So that is another style, if you call it style, of concept of God. So to be into this idea how God can become a friend or companion, we need to figure out what type of God will be most suitable for this purpose. So let us start with the different aspects of God, and then I shall come closer to that aspect when God can be really thought of as a friend and companion. And there are examples that are quite prevalent by which we can find that if somebody can think of God as friend or companion, actually he or she can be successful in the spiritual life. That means can have spiritual realization. Now, Swami Vivekananda has extensively talked about these things during his different talks that he had given here and in India. So naturally that clarifies our idea about the different concepts of God. Since this is more or less on the line of Swami Vivekananda's thinking that I am presenting to you, since each soul is potentially divine, Swami Vivekananda had said that the goal of the humanity is to manifest this divinity within by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. That is the goal of spiritual seekers. That means basically we have all this, as we know that we have consciousness that representative of the divinity that is within ourselves. That is, we all feel that we are conscious and that consciousness is residing. Because of the consciousness we are working, all those things are there. But we do not know what it is. So according to Vedanta, that is the existence of the divinity within ourselves. That means it is called Atman, it is called soul in English, in that way, that is there. So the point is that we need to realize that. Theoretically, by studying philosophy or listening to the lectures and all those things, we may be convinced that, well, there is something inside ourselves which is really divine, but that needs to be perceived. Sin, as it is called. Sin means it is a sort of perception, and in the process of perception, definitely some experience comes which can be compared to just seeing something. That means experiencing something, hearing something, in that way it can be perceived. That means it is an analogy, but it is something which is really intense or much more blissful than our physical sight or sound. That is the point. So he is saying, Swami Vivekananda is saying that yes, the goal of humanity, in large, even ignorantly, according to our philosophers, that we are trying to manifest that divinity within ourselves, though we do not know. That means what we are doing, why we are doing things, because we are trying to reach that, but we do not know that that is the goal. But we are doing this and that which are not really useful. We are frittering our energy here and there. But still, ultimately, at some point, we shall be able to realize that, well, the most important thing in the human life is to develop that divinity or reach that divinity, and that is the goal. So Swami Vivekananda is saying that all the practices that are prevalent can be classified into 4 categories. Work, that means by doing selfless work. That means when you do work, we usually do work with the expectation of some result. But slowly we know that we can do better. The work can be done in a better way if we can do it in a selfless way. That means we do not expect the work, but we definitely do the work as perfect as possible. The process should be really good. Then there is the worship, that means prayer and ritualistic worship. All those things are there because we think that God is here, and if we do pray, He will answer, and all those things are there, and that is a part of practice of devotion. And psychic control, as you know, meditation. Meditation is mind needs to be controlled, and it has been said that if you can control the mind, automatically you will be observe or perceive your own divinity. So many people have done that, so we actually follow that path. And there is also the philosophical path. That means you know what you are saying, seeing is nothing but the ultimate reality. Oneness is there. But we see diverse things, diversity is there. So by intellectual comprehension, once we can understand that really only one thing is there and multiplicity is really our what is called wrong perception, and slowly, again it is a sort of mental process, if we call it intellectual conviction, and we can realize that yes, really there is something like oneness. That is the ultimate goal. So in that way, all the paths that are available can be classified or clubbed into the 4 categories. God as friend and companion will fall into the category of worship or path of devotion or bhakti yoga. So it is very prominent that if you call God a friend, actually it will fall into the category of devotion. That means somebody you can really make friendship with, so somebody should be there. So in that way, there is a path which is known as this devotional path, and also a type of subclass or subdivision, if we call it, it will be what is called attitude of friendship. So there are 2 concepts of God prevalent in the scriptures of the world. One is called personal and the other is called impersonal. The conception of the personal God is that he or she, in whatever way we want to think of the divinity, is ever present God. That means he is there, that means a person, that means he is an individual in that way. Not like human being, but something which is very greater and better and whatever you can think of. So individuality is there, that means he is a God. So he is ever present, he is creator, he is preserver and destroyer of everything, the eternal father and mother of the universe. But one who is eternally separate from us and from all souls. This is the main division. That means God is there, but he is always present. He is a person like us. In that way, we think of God. That is very common. That means most of us think in that way. Attainment of divinity, or in other words, liberation, consists in coming near to him and living in him. So what we practice actually spirituality when God is really personal, to try to reach him, try to know him and be with him, and that is called liberation. That means when we can really be with him, then that will be our liberation. That means that is the highest attainment according to the concept of personal God. So you will see that in all great spiritual personalities' life, especially Jesus Christ, Father. That means he is thinking of God as Father. That means he is an individual. In that way he is praying and also asking us to pray, and in that way definitely he has spiritual realization, so naturally he had the feeling that God is really existing like that, and that way it has happened. So that is an important path that is common not only in Christianity but in Hinduism in different ways. Now, personal God is just an entity like ourselves. God can also be seen as a form, the way in the way we are seen. So, think of the Sri Ramakrishna's case. Sri Ramakrishna actually appealed to Divine Mother to appear before him. So actually Divine Mother appeared before him because of the intense spirituality. Spirituality means that the mind went into such a concentration that he wanted to see something and it appeared before him. In that way it happened. So this is the individuality that is the important part. Swami Vivekananda has said, quote, as human beings we must have God, and as gods we need none. That means as long as we are in the realm of human beings, that means we have not elevated to higher spiritual plane, or we have not become what is called a highly evolved spiritual soul, we need God. That means in that way, personal God is necessary, whom we can really appeal or pray, or we can really communicate, even if he is not seen. So in that way, we need God in that way. But when we really transcend this, become more spiritual, evolve in spirituality, we don't need that personal God. Because we are very near to God and we can think of God or we can become one with God, that is the point. Here begin, Swami Vivekananda has given a very good example. Further elucidating, Swami Vivekananda is saying, quote, this is why Sri Ramakrishna constantly saw the Divine Mother ever present with him, more real than any other thing around himself. But in Samadhi, all went but the self. So if you read the life of Sri Ramakrishna carefully, you will see that definitely he was in the realm of the world. That means he was living in the just like an ordinary person. Ordinary in a sense, that means human being. At that level actually he was constantly in touch with Divine Mother as a person. But when he went into Samadhi, that means when he went into great spiritual fervor, actually he lost contact with the outside world and his mind became one with the highest. At that point actually the personal God is not necessary. That means it transcended the necessity of a personal God. So in that way, personal God and impersonal God are really, both have their place in our spiritual life. Personal God comes nearer and nearer until he melts away, and there is no more personal God and no more I. All is merged in the self. So I-ness, that means individuality, when it is lost in the spiritual practice, there is no necessity of any personal God. That means we have reached the goal. So at that time, no personal God is necessary. Some people may say and say that a personal God is not possible and his existence cannot be proved. That is also true. That means from the point of view of intellectual argument, it can be said that, well, what is the necessity of a personal God if it is not really existing? So there is no necessity. But Swami Vivekananda is again saying, he is saying, Swami Vivekananda reconciles by saying, quote, he is the highest reading of the impersonal that can be reached by the human intellect, and what else is the universe but various readings of the absolute. This is a very important statement, how to reconcile impersonal and personal. That means we, in the stage of highest realization, who have not reached the highest realization, naturally we have to think of the highest. So when you think of the highest, in what way actually you can think? Except in the personal way. That means personal God is necessary for us because we have not reached that highest state. So let me repeat. He is the highest reading. That means it is not the ordinary reading. That means it is the highest reading. That means thinking of the absolute that can be done by a person who has not reached that state. That is the highest state of personal God that we need. That means a God who is really like us. He is the highest reading of the impersonal that can be reached by the human intellect. And what else is the universe but various readings of the absolute? This part is also important because according to Vedanta, only ultimate reality exists. And whatever we are saying are really not true. That means they are really transient. That means according to our own conception, according to our own perception, according to our own sanskara, as it is called, we are perceiving this world on the what is called the absolute. In that way it is existing. It does not really exist as such in the ultimate sense. The point will be clear in this way. Swami Vivekananda will say that we do not see this world, that means our perception of world, individual perception of world is absolutely personal. The way I perceive the world, you are not really perceiving the world in that way. The very good example that is given in the Vedanta is like this. Suppose a woman is there. So that woman is daughter of somebody. So naturally the father or mother looks her as daughter. And she has a sister also. The sisters look that same woman. That means she does not change. Same woman, they look as their sister. And she must have some friends. So friends look her as friends. And she might have a child also. The child looks her as mother. Does that woman spiritual practices? But they were really superior, so naturally they had the highest realization quickly. That means they did not have to struggle hard. But still they had to attain to that divinity by spiritual practices. They too had to perfect their instruments. In the description of the mythology, that means Puranas, we find a wonderful blending of the personality and the principle. The superconscious is manifest to the conscious, and if we are attracted by the human aspect, we come in touch with the divine aspect. So that is the purpose of worshipping or thinking of God as a human being in these incarnations of God. So this is the way actually we should proceed, as it has been said. And I have another what is called conversation, you can say, how in ancient times, you know that Bhagavatam is a great book that we read, and many people read, and it is full of something which is may not be very palatable in a sense, because some fantastic things are there, but from the spiritual point of view it is very important. That means it has got very interesting ways by which actually mind can be purified. Mind purified means that mind can be controlled. So that has been said. So it has been said in that book that once Vyasa, that means the writer of the great Mahabharata, it is one of the greatest epic, and also he was a great learned person. He edited the Vedas and wrote a book on the Vedanta and all those things. After writing those things, actually he was restless, because he should have the satisfaction that I am such a big writer, I have done so much good for the humanity, they should benefit in future. All these things were there, but still he was restless. So when he was thinking, so he met another sage who actually approached him and said that, well, he actually first greeted him that, well, you are such a great person, definitely at this age, when at the end of your life, you have come, you must be feeling very happy and proud because you have done so much good work. But Vyasa said that, well, I am not really very happy because I don't know what is the reason of my discontent. Then actually the sage was more experienced and more knowledgeable. He said that, well, I can tell you what is really the reason of your discontent. The discontent is this, that means when you wrote this Mahabharata, Vyasa was the writer of that, composer of that Mahabharata. So naturally in writing, suppose you write a novel or something, naturally you have to enter into the character, to characterize them. So in that way you have to apply your mind, all the good things or bad things or whatever it may be. In that way you have to apply your mind. So he is saying that when you wrote, he is saying naturally you have to apply your mind to good things and bad things, but you are not constantly thought of the good things, that is the point. So naturally your mind was not really happy always. So that is causing this botheration. So let me read a little bit about the conversation. He is saying, the Mahabharata was to you a play. That means the name of the sage is Narada. He is addressing Vyasa, saying, situation is saying. The Mahabharata was to you a play. Your attitude was purely objective. That means it is a book of history also. That means all the happenings that has happened. So he has to be true to the facts. So naturally his attitude was objective. You entered into every one of the characters. You were therefore thinking good thoughts as well as evil ones while the process of portraying them. That is true. Any illustrator, if a novelist actually has to portray the characters, so naturally he has to apply his mind in what way actually good things or bad things was done or had to be done. So naturally he had to think all those things. Incidentally, the Lord was praised. In Mahabharata, Lord Krishna was there definitely, and time to time he came into the picture, so when he illustrated, so he thought of him. That is the point. There was no single-mindedness about your devotion to him. So he did not think of Lord constantly. That is the point. You must try to make up for this omission. Sing the praises of Narayana. Relate to the world his Vishwarupa, his Viratrupa and Vibhutis. That means now time has come that you think of the ultimate reality in his grandeur. That means always think of him and write something or compose something where actually your mind will be always engaged in the virtues or goodness of that entity. That means Lord Krishna. So he is avatars, and I assure you, will grant you the peace you are seeking. Unveil the world, the secret behind the avatars. So he is saying that, well, in this way, not only you will find peace of your mind because your constant association of the what is called the virtues of the avatars, but in humanity, that means posterior, who will read them actually attend to them. That means they will also get peace of mind. So in that way he encouraged this Vyasa, great Vyasa, to write this Bhagavatam. The point is this association. Association is very important. So now let us see how these associations can be made according to this path of devotion. In fact, there are 4 ways by which actually associations are made with the what is called the personal God. That means if you call, now we know that it is best to have association with the avatars. That means incarnations of God. So there are 4 ways. That means one is called maybe parents like father and mother. That is also true. And in the history you will find that Jesus Christ thought of God as father. Sri Ramakrishna thought of God as mother. So it is possible. That means they were very successful in spiritual history we find. And also we find when we read Mahabharata and other books that Lord Krishna had some friends also. That means they addressed him as friend. Like Uddhava was one of them. Then Arjuna was the greatest example. And also some others were also there who thought him as a friend. Some thought of him as a lover also. Gopis and all those people. That means that type of relationship they used to bear with him. Then as a child also, that means Lord Krishna when is a child, so naturally his mother Yasoda actually looked him and cared him, and that attitude also is quite common. That is a common practice to look at Lord Krishna in that Gopala form. So these are the attitude that we can have, the incarnation of God, Lord Krishna. I am taking the example of Lord Krishna because we just celebrated Janmashtami, but others also can be. If you look to the history, you will find that they have done that. And also servant. Servant means master and servant. That means you are Lord and I am serving you. That is quite common. That means when I think of God, I try to please him by serving him. So in that way, Rama and Hanuman are very good example in our history of spirituality. So in this way, we find that this attitude when we establish, a sort of nearness comes. It is important to have association. Otherwise, actually, we shall be what is called away. Will be a distant. Will be at a distance from the object of our spiritual idea. That is, avatars will remain distant. Somehow or other, if we say that, well, this thing fits. That means I think that like Arjuna, if we could communicate with Lord Krishna, then it will be very satisfying to me. So I think of Lord Krishna as what is called as an object of worship, and attitude of Arjuna we can apply to ourselves in that way actually. We think of him. So thinking is the most important, that association. Some will think that, well, I like to have as a child, that means that Gopala. So it is called Vatsalya, that means that affectionate, childhood affectionate. In that way, it feels good to me. So in that way, we associate. The point is that though it is a human being, child, or Lord Krishna is a warrior, but still because of the divinity behind that, slowly, because of the association, the good things will come. That means that divine qualities will come to us, and that will be satisfying. As Narada has said that this association will really bring peace of your mind. And just as a little bit elaboration, And it is said, it is claimed even, that means by reading this Bhagavata, because your mind will be constantly in the realm of spirituality or the acts of divinity, actually it brings peace of mind. So many people actually believe that, and in that way they read or listen. Those who cannot read, they listen to the act of God. So these are the ways that now today's subject, as I told you, is the God as friend and companion. So great example will be relationship between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. As you know, Bhagavad Gita is a very famous book, and in that way we see that in that book, the friendship, that means Lord Krishna was great friend, not only friend, he was a relative also, a distant relationship was there. So he has a good friend and a relation. So he accepted what is called to be a charioteer to Arjuna. So they were just companions, so it actually worked very well. But because of this association, Arjuna got the greatest knowledge. That means because it was very easily available, so all the good qualities or the good things that were available, that was in Lord Krishna came to him. So let us see what is this attitude of friendship. That means friend and companionship. In the book, in the talk about Bhakti Jagat, Swami Prapannananda has given a little bit elaborate explanation how actually this friendship relationship work in the realm of spirituality. So he is saying Sokha. Sokha is the term, technical term that is given in the spiritual literature of devotion. Friendship. So, quote, "Thou art our beloved friend. Just as a man opens his heart to his friend and knows that the friend will never chide him for his faults, but will always try to help him, just as there is the idea of equality between him and his friend." So this actually works. So in that way actually we open up to God. In that way we talk to God in prayer, and in that way the relationship works. So let me repeat, it is a long sentence. Just as a man opens his heart to his friend and knows that the friend will never chide him for his faults, but will always try to help him, just as there is the idea of equality between him and his friend, so equal love flows in and out between the worshipper and his godly friend, rather friendly God. Thus God becomes our friend, the friend who is near, the friend to whom we may freely tell all the tales of our lives, the innermost secrets of our hearts we may place before him, with the great assurance of safety and support. He is the friend whom the devotee accepts as an equal. God is viewed here as our claimant. So this is the attitude that we see Lord Krishna or that Arjuna had with Lord Krishna. And you know, friendship again has got certain aspects that has been illustrated in the Bhagavad Gita. You'll find that there are terms which are equivalent to friendship in general. One is called Sokha. Sokha means he is a friend to which actually he can open his mind. Bandhu means he is actually there are this term. Yes, Bandhu means a sort of co-traveler or co-religionist or kinsman. He was a kinsman. That means Lord Krishna is a kinsman also. So in that way, of course, they are of the same age also. That is called friend, maybe a bandhu. Bandhu is a type of friend. Then suhrid, that means friendship through marriage, business and alliance. That is also true because Lord Krishna's sister was married to Arjuna. In that way, that relationship also is there. Then Sakha, that means emotional support, joys and sorrows together. That is the most important. During the Kurukshetra war, you know, he needed support from Lord Krishna, and because of the friendship actually that worked. So you will find that in many places Arjuna has addressed Krishna as Sakha. That means in that way he has said. Boys also is there because they are of the same age. That was also true. That means at the time of Kurukshetra they are of the age of 120 or something like that, because that was also true. And also mitra, that means friend in prosperity and adversity. Another type of friendship, that was also true. Whenever there was a problem, Lord Krishna came forward and saved these Pandavas. That means he gave counseling, and in that way actually they are saved. So all those things, all the aspects of friendship actually we find that worked in the relationship between Arjuna and this Lord Krishna. So the point is this is the way actually you can think of God, and in that way actually that is very helpful that we find. Of course, if you read carefully the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, so a question comes, in what way actually Swami Vivekananda saw Sri Ramakrishna? But you will be surprised to know that the attitude of friendship was there. That means Swami Vivekananda saw Sri Ramakrishna as a friend, not as a master or disciple. Of course, there are guru and disciple, that is true, but even the relationship, maybe, as I told you, maybe five types of relationship might be there, but in his character we find that the relationship was more friendly. That means Sri Ramakrishna was as if a friend of Swami Vivekananda. And that can be seen in one of the poems that he had written. That means it is written in Bengali and it is called To a Friend. That means Sakhar Prati. That is a Bengali poem. It is a lengthy poem where he has expressed that attitude to Sri Ramakrishna. I would like to conclude with, it is a lengthy poem and it has been translated into English and I have found it, and I shall just end my talk with what is called reading a few lines from that poem. From highest Brahman to the yonder world and to the very minutest atom, everywhere is the same God, the all friend of our mind, soul, body at their feet. Of course, after realizing God as friend, Swami Vivekananda is addressing others, that means, oh friend, that means he is addressing us also as a friend that offer everything to him. These are his manifold forms before thee, rejecting them where seekest thou for God, who loves all beings without distinction. He indeed is worshipping best his God. Of course, he is saying that everybody should love others as friend. So naturally, God is really thinks of us as friend, and we should reciprocate that friendship to every being because God is existing in everybody. We have one guest musician. I have requested him to sing a song which was a very favorite song of Sri Ramakrishna, and Swami Vivekananda also sang that song. So his name is Ujjal Chaudhuri. So I request him to come and sing that song. Chidananda Sindhu Nire Premananda Lahari. The meaning of the song is that it is a concept that the soul is dancing near the highest bliss. So in that way it is considered, or it is imagining that on the shore of that great bliss, the heart is dancing. So in that way the song has been composed by the composer. So it is a style of kirtan which was prevalent during Sri Ramakrishna's time. Of course these songs are still sung and they are quite popular.
Chidananda Sindhu Nire Premananda Lahari. Chidananda Sindhu Nire Premananda Lahari. Chidananda Mahabhava Rasalila Ki Madhuri. Mori Mori Chidananda Sindhu Nire Premananda Lahari. Chidananda Sindhu Nire Mahajoge Samudaya Ekakar Hoilo. Mahajoge Samudaya Ekakar Hoilo. Desokalo Bebodhano Veda Ved Kuchilo. পুরিল রে আমার আশা পুরিল রে সকল সাধ মিটে গেল আশা পুরিল রে সকল সাধ মিটে গেল সকল সাধ মিটে গেল আশা পুরিল রে বিবিধ বিলাস রঙ্গ প্রসঙ্গ কত অভিনব ভাব তরঙ্গ বিবিধ বিলাস রঙ্গ প্রসঙ্গ কত অভিনব ভাব তরঙ্গ উঠিছে ডুবিছে করিছে রঙ্গ উঠিছে ডুবিছে করিছে রঙ্গ নবীন নবীন রূপ ধরি বিবিধ বিলাস রঙ্গ প্রসঙ্গ কত অভিনব ভাব তরঙ্গ উঠিছে ডুবিছে করিছে রঙ্গ নবীন নবীন রূপ ধরি এখন আনন্দে মাতিয়া দুবাহু তুলিয়া আনন্দে মাতিয়া এখন আনন্দে মাতিয়া দুবাহু তুলিয়া আনন্দে মাতিয়া বল রে মনরে মন রে আমার হরি বল চিদানন্দ সিন্ধু নীরে প্রেমানন্দ লহরী চিদানন্দ সিন্ধু নীরে মহাভাব রসলীলা কি মাধুরী মরি মরি চিদানন্দ